FM. This is your Leadership Hour with Hassan Kibirango and myself, Barbara Muhoza. We are with Dr. Derrick Samuels talking about leadership. And for this next session or this next part of our discussion, sir, we want to hear your recommendations for Rwanda. I mean, you have been here, you've been exposed, you have seen a few things, and we're on the right way. We're on the right track.
Yes.
But how do we keep this moving?
Number one, my advice is that they got to be properly packaged for national identification. It is time for us to be on the map of relevance, not just being on map of the world, map of relevance. Over 10 million people visit Dubai every year. Why? Because they've been able to put themselves on a map of relevance, not just map of the world, right? Then there's also need to be position for national influence, influencing things positively. And we need to also power the people for national involvement, all right? Now, one thing I would recommend is that they need to make vision the object of national visibility. That means that every Rwandan understand where this country is going by the year 2020, 2018, 2050 or so on. They also need to make value the center of national activities, and they also need to understand that they need to make the voice of the people a national priority. That is very, very fundamental. Make the voice of your people a national priority. Now, put infrastructure in place, infrastructure that they need to thrive, not just to survive. Put information in place, information that will empower them to roar like a lion. Put inspection in place. Inspection, I mean, put evaluation and control mechanism in place so that people know what they need to do. Put instruction in place. Now, another thing I said before is to amend policies that are not working. Amend outdated plans. So many plans that may not be working, amend them.
Yes.
Nothing is wrong with amending them. And one thing I've seen in Africa is that sometimes Africa don't visit what they wrote back before to amend things. Anything can be amended, provided it's working for the people, and amend outdated procedures. Now, one thing I wanted to say here is that processes should work for people. Now, one thing I love in America is that you can predict what you want to be in America. That means that if you come to America, you say, I give myself 5 years to be this. You can be that for 5 years. I want to see that in Africa. When you say, in the next 5 years, I want to get my master, get PhD. I'm giving an example, for example. You know you got it. In the next 5 years, I want to be at this level of government power. You can get there. I love that in America. You can easily predict what you want to be in America. We need to put procedures in place. Remove all the bureaucratic red tape delays dictated by cultures that are already outdated. Remove them. And also ensure there's a real quality assurance assessment, which is a measure of progress. Because control is a measure of productivity. It's also a measure of participation. Now, one thing I want to say is what Miles Monroe said. He said this true leadership is measured by what happened in his or her absence. That is so powerful, and that is my own word to his eminence, his excellency, the president here. He's doing a very fabulous, awesome, wonderful job that people need to come to Rwanda to see the job the president of this country is doing.
Yes.
But the greatest task the president has is not the job he's doing. It is what will happen after he has left. And that is his greatest responsibility and task. Because I believe in that word that Miles Monroe said, that the strength of leaders is measured by what happened in his absence. If a leader does not, leadership without duplication is failed leadership. There must be duplication. Somebody that look like you. Somebody that is even much better than you. That is what we need here. And that's what the president, for me, I think is one of the greatest tasks I want him to really, really, really tackle. That what happened in his absence is more important than what happened in his presence.
In his presence.
Wow. That's interesting. Going back into history, we have an innumerable number of leadership examples that we cling to as people who've provided and given us guidance on where we need to go as leaders. Of course, leadership changes as times change. Dr. Derrick,
Yes.
who in history, or how many people in history would you, maybe two people, would you give to us as an example that have been a light in your life, and why?
Now, I will mention two people specifically, one in the government, one in business. I will start with Africa, which is Nelson Mandela. The reason why I mention Nelson Mandela is because he has what they call national interest at heart. He had the opportunity to come out of the prison. You know that.
Yes.
They gave him several opportunities. Hey, you got to come out, but stop talking about national interest. You've got to come out, but stop talking about our people. He said no. He said get out. He said, hey, get out of this place. And he will lock the door, and he chose to remain in that prison for years, for decades, right? But you see, one thing I love about that man is that, number one, he has national interest. Number two, he could easily forgive the past so that he will not hold captive to tomorrow. If you hold strongly to your yesterday, you become a captive of your tomorrow. That is a lesson we need to learn from that man. Number three lesson that we need to learn from Nelson Mandela is that that man came to power, he ruled for a specific time and gave opportunity for people to do that. In Africa here, we see people clinging to power by all means, changing all the policies of the country or the policies of the country to remain in power. For what? For what? Why will you remain in power for years like that? Why will you remain in power? Give opportunity for others to shine also, and you watch them grow. That is one thing I love about Mandela. Now, another person I want to mention, which is in the business world, is called Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos is the CEO of Amazon. I love that man because that man is a tomorrow person. That man is sending so many businesses away out, closing so many businesses. You know why? Because he could see tomorrow yesterday. A true leader is one who saw tomorrow yesterday. You cannot be a leader that see tomorrow in tomorrow. You cannot be in 2004. You cannot be in 2014 and be planning 2014. People who are succeeding in 2014, they planned it in 2013. If you are a true leader, by now your mind is already in 2015 because 2014 is already done. That is a true leader. Now, why I love Jeff Bezos, who is the CEO of Amazon today, is that number one, look at virtually so many nations in the world now, they can buy things online, right?
Yes.
But when that man started selling things online, people were like, what do you think? Do you think you can do this online? We have people like Barnes and Nobles. We have different Borders bookshop. All those ones. He's has already Borders in America now, which is a bookshop. They already closed because of Amazon. Because now we can order things in Amazon. Boom, it's already
It's
there.
at home.
We need leaders that sees tomorrow. Yesterday.
And what you're highlighting there is to have vision, the foresight to
Absolutely.
see into the future.
Vision is a mental clear picture of your preferable future. You cannot have vision and not do something about it. The reason why so many things are not doing very well in Africa, the vision, there is no vision. There is no vision. Where there is no vision, there is absolute confusion. And where there is no vision, that is why the processes are not there. Africa needs structure, a solid structure that cannot be waved by any wind. That is what Africa needs. Thorough process that works for people.
Wow.
As well, time is not on our side, so we're heading towards the conclusion. I don't know if you have anything else to ask before we go for the book review.
There's a lot I could ask Dr. Derrick here. He's let me ask you a few questions. What are those principles, timeless principles that form a leader, without which leadership is nothing? What would be those 3, 4, 5 principles that you've held on to, that you've seen them consistently work through so many leaders that we need to learn and the listeners out there need to adhere to?
Now, you've touched some part of my books because my book is on the power of movement. And one of the things I told in the book is the power of principles. Number one, a true leader must see sacrifice before rewards. That is strong. That is so powerful. A true leader must see sacrifice before rewards. And that is the problem we have in Africa. You don't see reward before sacrifice. Sacrifice precedes rewards. It takes sacrifice to precipitate success. So that is what Africa needs. Number one, see sacrifice before reward. Put your heart out there for the people. Number two, stretch your mind before you stretch forth your hand. Nothing is qualified to be in your hand until it first resides in your mind.
Yes.
The mind is a powerful hub for performance. The reason why many people are failing is that they are stretching for their hand. Hey, give me this, give me this. America, give me this. Europe, give me this. When something is not in your mind, success is, you're not permitted to have success in your hand until it first resides in your mind. Number 3, have value for your people. Your people are the reason why you are in government. The people are the reason why you are in leadership. You are not a leader if you have nobody governing. You are not in government if you have nobody you are governing. Don't exclude people. Put people in mind. Love the people. Dress up to work for them. Have a plan, national vision, national interest for them. Another principle that is so important when it comes to leadership, I said before, is called strategic alignment, which is strategic positioning. It's very, very vital. Now, look at countries like Singapore, how they transition themselves from nothing to hero. Look at countries like the Emirates, how they transition themselves from nothing to hero. You have no choice now. Everybody's in the world now is moving towards Dubai, because there is something happening there. The tallest skyscraper is in Dubai. The most beautiful airport is in Dubai. The most beautiful this is in Dubai. It was built on desert. Always see that. The last one is that this is very, very important. You must see inconvenience as your birthright. Africa, inconvenience is our birthright. Success is an option, but inconvenience is our birthright. I, Dr. Derrick, I have chosen inconvenience as my birthright, meaning that I don't let anything deter me, because I was born into inconvenience, and through inconvenience I am thriving, and through inconvenience I'm making huge success. The strength of Africa, the strength of true leadership in Africa is buried in inconvenience, and we need to embrace inconvenience as our birthright.
Wow.
Well, you mentioned... Okay, we need to gather ourselves, Hassan. You've mentioned the power of movement, and it so happens that we were looking at it just shortly, and we were hoping to review the book with you. Given it's your book, you're here. We are blessed to have you here. What is the power of movement all about?
Very good. I'm glad you asked me that question. Number 1, the power of movement is centered on 4 things. Number 1 is the power of personality. Because I believe that if you don't have a strong personality, you cannot compete. It takes strong personality to compete. Number 2, it is also written in form of the power of people. Again, I told you that I believe in people. I love what my biology professor, teacher, how he taught me when I was in secondary school, what we call high school in America. He said that humans are the dominant element in the world terrestrial fauna. He said that the dominion we owe as humans are largely due to our high biological efficiency and perhaps the catastrophe that befell the reptilian types. Why I don't understand the catastrophe that befell the reptilian types, I understand the audacity and the power of human capital and human intelligence. I also talked about the power of process. Process is a route. You can never succeed with a process. You can never navigate. You can never circumvent process. Process is a route. We need to put process in place to make us relevant. Number 4 was the power of principles. You need to stand on something, okay, to stand tall. Otherwise, you will sink, right? But this book on the power of movement was, I wrote this book on the premise that the only water that stinks is the water that does not move. The water in the kitchen sink, it stinks because it lacks mobility. When you lack mobility in life, you will never escape stinking. Many potential are stinking because they lack mobility. But think about the ocean. Look at the ocean, the Indian Ocean, Pacific Ocean, Atlantic Ocean. Go to the ocean. The ocean is always fresh. Why? It's always moving, always moving, always moving. All the tsunami that happened, the earthquake that happened, all the debris that get into the ocean, it does not make the ocean to stink. Why? Because it's always moving, always moving. If our people can be moving, if our people can have that audacity to move a little every day, a little every day, a little every day, before you know it, they will get from point A to point B. Now, how can we ensure that our people move? Number 1, they need, to understand that what they have is enough to create something. Somebody said you can do the impossible with the available. The impossible can be done with what? The available. So many people listening to me now, some of them who say, oh, I don't have a job, I don't have this. What about you baking bread? What about you becoming a tailor? What about you becoming a carpenter? What about you becoming a photographer? What about you becoming this or that? There are so many. What about farming? What about having a fish pond? What about having a poultry here? What about farming? There are many jobs around here in Rwanda that people of Rwanda need to place value on. That is so important. That is movement. It takes movement to maintain freshness.
Wow. You're listening to The Heart of a Leader. We are with Dr. Derrick Samuels, and that was a book that he's written. It's called The Power of Movement, How to Avoid Stagnation and Achieve Your Dreams. The book is sold on Amazon. I'd encourage all of our listeners that value leadership, that want to grow as leaders, to please pick up this book. And I believe that it will transform your life and your leadership as you grow your way to greatness.
Yes, our concluding remarks. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for, listening to this insightful discussion with Dr. Derrick Samuels. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us this time, and we discussed about these various principles on leadership. We hope to catch you the next time you're in Kigali.
Thank you.
And
to all our listeners out there, we thank you for taking time off to follow through this show with us. We hope that you've been encouraged. We hope that you've been challenged, and we hope that you're going to make the necessary steps to move towards that getting out that leader that God has placed in the inside of you, because he's there or she's there, but she needs to be developed into their full potential. So thank you, and God bless you until we meet next time.